He turned his face, looked at me without hostility, without hope either, just the look of someone who has seen it all pass. I'm in Jerusalem, a century after Christ, and there's a place here that I needed to see with my own eyes. They told me about a tank, a pool. They said people went there to be healed. I thought it was an exaggeration. I imagined something simple, like a reservoir, a large well. As I approached, I understood that it wasn't anything like that. So I turned this corner and stopped. This isn't, it's not a municipal pool. It's an entire stone complex in Jerusalem. We are at the Pool of Bethesda. Look at the view. What an incredible place. And there are people here, many people, 5 porticos. John chapter 5 talks about this. And when you enter, you understand what 5 porticos mean. In practice, there are 5 stone-covered chitniks, galstrovin, around 2 separate pools. The entire structure is enormous. These limestone columns, this stone here is Jerusalem limestone, cut, worked, placed at place. Archaeologists excavated this in the 19th century. The place exists, it's still there today, under a church in the Muslim quarter of Jerusalem. It's not a legend, it's not a symbol. And when you get close to the water for the first time, I mean, its size takes you by surprise. This isn't a pool. It's a neighborhood reservoir. The depth here was about 13 meters. This is a 4-story building of water beneath Jerusalem. There's a lower level down here. The stairs go down, and the air changes completely as you descend. Down here, the smell is of wet stone and stagnant water. Cold, damp, very different from the heat up above. And it was on this lower level that the excavations found the oldest traces of the complex. Shocks, Centennian period. For a long time, scholars thought that this part of the portico was a literary invention. John had gotten the description wrong. Then in 1888, they excavated and found exactly that. 2 tanks, 5 porticos, exactly as John described in the 1st century, a detail too accurate to be invented. This place existed, and it was exactly here that the scene from John 5 took place. But the size of the complex is only half the story. What really struck me was who was inside. These people lived here, spending days, weeks, months, waiting. John 5 speaks of a great multitude of sick, blind, paralyzed people. People with illnesses that society didn't know how to treat. That woman over there, she's not sick. She's caring, offering water. This isn't explicitly stated in John 5, but it makes perfect sense. There was an informal care network here. Family, neighbors, volunteers. Without them, the weakest wouldn't have survived the wait.
That's what bothered me. These people had nowhere else to go. Bethesda was their final destination of hope, their taber.
Was no hospital, no clinic. Roman medicine existed, but it was expensive, inaccessible to most of these people. That man leaning against that column over there, he's blind. You can tell by the way his face doesn't follow the movement around him. He turned his face toward me now without seeing me, only hearing my footsteps. Blindness in Judea during the 13th century was a sentence of exclusion. Without family to care for you, you ended up in a place like this. But all these people here had one thing in common. They were waiting for the water to move. The belief was that at certain times, an angel would descend and stir the water. And the first one to enter after that would be only the first one. The rest would wait for the next time, and the next, and the next. When I understood the whole logic, something heavy hit me. Because the sickest are exactly those who least manage to get there first. The system created a kind of competition where the least capable always lost. It wasn't malice. It was what it was. It's a place of despair, but also of faith. Both things at the same time. And there's another detail I didn't expect. This was near the temple. It was the area of Jerusalem with high religious circulation. There were guards here. The temple controlled certain areas of Jerusalem. Bethesda was on the northeast side, very close to the sheep gate, and I sat here to understand better. Bethesda had pagan origins before becoming a Jewish healing place. It was a sanctuary of Asclepius at some point. Asclepius was the Greco-Roman god of medicine. The Romans built healing sanctuaries near water. This place had that layer as well. So you had, all in one place, Jewish belief in the angel, Roman heritage of a medical sanctuary, and a crowd with no other options. And in this context, with all this complexity, a moment arrived that I wasn't expecting to witness. But before we get there, I need to tell you what this place means to those who study the Gospel of John. We are in Bethesda, the pool mentioned only in the Gospel of John in chapter 5. This has generated doubt for centuries. They thought John had invented a detail to give it symbolic weight. The number 5 has weight in Jewish tradition. But here I am, in 2 real pools, with 5 real stone porticoes. It's not symbolic, it's architecture. The name Bethesda in Aramaic means house of mercy or house of outpouring. There's some debate about the exact translation, but the Dead Sea Scrolls found in 1947 mention a place called Beit Asda, Tame, home of the 2 pools. Exactly. The place was here. The name was in the manuscripts. Archaeology confirmed it me, piece by piece. Everything fit together. And there's a specific place here that I needed to find a particular man whom John describes as part of this place. John speaks of a man who had been there for 38 years. If you're following this and feeling what I'm feeling here, leave a like, because this place overwhelmed me in a way I didn't expect. 38 years in this place means he was here before many people around here were born. And I think I found him. He's alone, separated from the others, with no one by his side. I approached slowly. I didn't want to scare him. I didn't want to intrude. But I needed to see him up close. John 5 says that Jesus will ask him, do you want to be healed? And for a long time that question seemed strange to me. But after seeing this place with my own eyes, the question makes perfect sense. 38 years here changes what you want, changes who you are. If you have someone close to you who has been waiting 40 years for a cure, for a way out, for a miracle, this video is for that person too. He turned his face, looked at me, without hostility, without hope either, just the look of someone who has seen it all pass. But going back here, because there are still things this place showed me that I need to tell you. The water in the North Pool was cleaner. The water in the South Pool stayed stagnant longer. And that's where the sick stayed. And when it rained heavily, the water from the North Pool overflowed to the south through the corridor. But it's interesting that the text doesn't require supernatural elements to explain the movement, only to explain the cure. These marks on the wall here are chisel cuts made by one by one. There are no marks of any machinery. In 70 AD, Titus destroyed Jerusalem. Bethesda was buried. It remained buried for centuries under layers of rubble. Crusaders built a church on top of it in the 11th century, and it was forgotten beneath the structure for hundreds of years. Then in 1888, Dominican monks excavating the land to build a convent opened the grounds and found all this here. Columns, tanks, staircases intact, waiting beneath the earth. And this is what it is now. This stone column here, this very stone I'm touching now, was here when Jesus entered through that portal. I'm not being poetic. It's literal. The stone survived, and now I need to return to that man, because what happened to him here is the central point of this entire place. He's still there, in the same position. This man spent 38 years in that position waiting for someone to help him reach the water first. John says that Jesus knew he had been there for a long time. He didn't ask his name. He didn't ask about his illness. He asked if he wanted to be healed. And the man's answer wasn't yes. It was an explanation. I have no one to put me into the water when it gets turbulent. Someone else gets there before me. That struck me. Because sometimes the problem isn't a lack of faith. It's a lack of someone. It's not having anyone to help you get there. And then something happened that I didn't expect to witness. I heard a different movement in the complex. People started moving slowly, looking in the same direction, pointing. Something was happening near the entrance. I walked in the direction everyone was looking, and a figure appeared through the gate that I recognized by its bearing. Calm, different, without announcing itself, without anyone clearing the way. But the space opened up anyway. He didn't go to the water. He didn't go to the gates where there were more people. He went straight to the side where that man was. I stayed behind. I didn't want to interfere, but I could see. He stopped exactly where I had stopped before. He stood beside him, looking. He didn't touch anything at the time. He just stood there beside the man lying on the ground. I didn't hear what was said. I was too far away. But the tone of the place changed. It became quiet in a different way. And then the man lying down began to move, slowly, like someone trying to do something they haven't been able to do in a long time. I'm seeing it happen. He placed his hands on the ground, push and move, and his body responded. He stood up after 38 years. I'm looking at a man who just stood up at the Pool of Bethesda. He walked down the aisle here with the mat on his arm, walking on his own 2 feet, coming from a place where he spent 38 years. Only the clay jar remained. This detail stuck in my head for a reason I can't quite explain. What John 5 records next is that it was Saturday and the religious leaders confronted the man for carrying the mat on the Sabbath. A man healed after 38 years, and the first concern was the Sabbath law. This shock is part of what John wanted to record. Jesus disappeared into the crowd afterward. John says this. He didn't wait for recognition. He didn't wait for witnesses. I went to a man in a complex with hundreds, the most alone, the one no one helped to reach. This detail bothers me in a good way. It wasn't the one who reached the water first. It was the one who had never managed to reach it, and all the others are still here, with the same illnesses, the same place, the same waiting. Only one she left today. That woman is still here, as if nothing has changed for her, because for her, nothing has changed yet. Bethesda, after that day, continued to function. People continued waiting for the water to move. The miracle didn't close the place. I walked towards the exit. I looked at the entire length of this corridor and thought how many people passed through here waiting and saw nothing happen. John 5 doesn't hide the fact that the miracle was selective. One of many, and perhaps that's exactly what makes the account honest. It wasn't a mass healing. These 5 porticos, these 2 pools, this stone, all of that existed. And one day, something happened here that someone deemed important enough to write about. Buria. I went out. I'm on the street now. This portal here. Through it, all those sick people entered, waiting. Through it, Jesus entered without announcing anything. Through it, that man came out standing. What surprised me most wasn't the miracle itself. It was the place, the stone, the size, the number of forgotten people inside. You can read John 5 without knowing anything about archaeology and understand the story. But when you see the place, the story changes in weight. It becomes real. Stone, real water. Real people waiting for decades and an encounter that truly happened on this ground. Bethesda is now in the Muslim quarter of Jerusalem. The Church of St. Anne is above, and the pools are below. You can visit, but I know what I saw. A place that truly existed. A story that was written with too much detail to be dismissed, and a man who stood up after 38 years lying on the stone floor of the Pool of Bethesda. Tell me in the comments, did you know that this place was excavated and confirmed by archaeology? I don't know how many people who entered through that portal today came out standing. I don't know if anyone else came out. And if this kind of thing interests you, a like helps a lot. Each like tells me that it's worth continuing to go to these places. Jerusalem, 1st century, Pool of Bethesda. This place existed. And what happened here? Someone decided it couldn't go unrecorded.